Hi, Tony Knight, the dog listener here. Thank you for joining me for this film, and I hope that you'll be glad that you did. I think you will be, especially if you've been suffering from the very common problem, which is a huge frustration for so many people, to have a dog that barks non-stop and drives you crazy, whether people are going past the house or in the garden or they just hear something. And there are a lot of people out there who, through desperation or because they've been advised to do certain things by certain dog trainers, will try all kinds of things to stop. And, in most cases, it doesn't work at all. And in a lot of cases, the things that have been asked to do or the things they think they've got to do aren't what they really want to, because in actual fact, they're causing harm or even pain to their dogs. So if you're one of those people, this film is for you. There are so many things that I've heard from people, so many methods to stop a dog from barking. The typical one, think about this. What's the first thing that people mostly say when their dog barks? It might be, shut up, stop it. Now, if that happens, a dog, has heard something or seen something or even smelt something in its own environment, in its, immediate environment, and it thinks, oh, that could be a problem, I'm going to do something about it. Remember that humans and canines have been together for tens of thousands of years, and one of the functions of canines back in the early days, before we had the agricultural revolution, was to let us know of an approaching danger. The fact is, they still do that. But if a dog does bark, there's a problem, and we come out and we sound upset, the dog doesn't blame itself. It thinks, yeah, I knew it was a problem because you're not happy about it. And then some people will scream at their dog, will you shut up, you're driving me mad, oh my God, what will the neighbours say? And the dog hears us going, rah, 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 and it thinks, great, I've got backup, now I know I'm doing it right. I once met a dog that would bark for 30 minutes non-stop, and the only reason it stopped after 30 minutes was that's how long it took for the wife's voice to stop working. So shouting at a dog doesn't work, as you may have found out, or you know someone who does. And then there are all sorts of other things what you can do. The traditional thing was smacking them on the head with, rolled up newspaper. So not how many people have newspapers now. Squirting them with water, throwing stuff at them, getting the can of stones to shake, and that distracts the dog, which might work for the first few occasions, but the dog goes, because the dog's going, what the heck was that? But if the dog still thinks there's a problem, I've got to do something about this, no amount of shaking the can will help. In fact, I know of one woman who, after 3 weeks of being recommended the can of stones, was shaking like a maniac and the dog was still barking. She contacted the trainer who recommended it, and the trainer said, you're obviously using the wrong kind of stones. That's not very helpful. Worse, some people will then put on collars that either squirt citronella or a product in the dog's face that, disorientates them or that they don't like. Or the worst one, of course, the electric shock collar. And, causing pain when a dog is trying to do its job is not great. Like I often say, when I was a kid, if I was at home, playing in the living room, somebody came to the front door, I wouldn't go and answer it. I'm only a kid. And so I'd go, Mum, there's someone at the door. And if my mum was vacuuming or she was in another room, she couldn't hear me, I'd keep saying it. I might go and find her. Mum, there's someone at the door. Until she heard me, at which point she'd go, thank you, darling, and go to the door. And I'm, being a smart child, would stop saying it, because the reason I said it was to get my mum to the door. Mission accomplished. That's what we're after here with dogs. If they're alerting us to something, we need to show them that we're dealing with it. One thing my mum didn't do, and mainly because it was in the 1970s and they didn't have them, well, I hope that's not the main reason, but my mum never came in when I was telling her there was someone at the door, said, shut your face, and tasered me, because I was doing my job. One thing you have to realise is it's actually okay for a dog to bark. Think about this. One of my recent clients over in, she's living now in Queensland in Australia, but she was in Victoria. She's got a Doberman who, when she moved house, alerted her twice about 2 o'clock in the morning by barking. She turned the light on, and her neighbours, who were also alerted by the barking, noticed on those 2 occasions a shadowy figure running away from the house. It's not a bad thing if your dog barks, but what we want to do is to keep it under control. So here's the 3-step process that's going to get you to show your dog, thanks for letting me know, but I'm going to deal with this, and you're not going to have to use any gadgets or contraptions or get angry or get annoyed or throw anything or shock your dog in order to do it. And it works far better than all of those things put together. Stage number 1 is to thank your dog when they bark. Just like my mum thanked me when I let her know there was somebody at the door. Now, what's important about this is when you thank your dog, you're thinking positively. Dogs can pick up on how we feel, physically and emotionally. So they know if we're in a good mood or in a bad mood. So if your first thought is my dog letting me know is a good thing because I don't like burglars, Then if you go, good dog, then that's getting your pulse rate to stay down, which is great, because if your dog gets excited or over the top and you follow it, it's going to take ages for everybody to calm down. If you can stay down here, you're going to get your dog to come back down to your level more quickly. So the first thing is, thank you, good dog. Now that doesn't always work, because some dogs are insistent that there's something there, or they could be panicking. In which case, stage 2 is simply go and have a look. That's actually what happens in nature. A sentinel canine will signal to the one that makes the decisions, come and have a look. And they do. So you're copying that. So basically, when you go to where your dog is, don't look at your dog, because some dogs will bark for attention. And when people say to me, how do I know if my dog's barking at a problem or barking at me? I say, which direction is the dog facing? If the dog's facing you, it's barking for attention. Don't fall for that. So what I do when a dog barks, I thank them and they carry on, is I'll go and have a look. I don't look at the dog. I want the dog to see me make a decision. And sometimes I'll get all Errol Flynn about it. I'll put my hands on my hips and I'm sort of looking. What is it? Good dog. Now, if the dog's got a collar, you can take the dog by the collar and bring it in quietly after that. If the dog's running up and down along the fence, don't try and do that. Your presence in Errol Flynn, you don't have to put your hands on your hips, but you know what I mean? Your presence as Errol Flynn is to show the dog, what you did was to let me know, and I'm dealing with it now. If you've got a slip leash and you can put it over the dog, put it on and take the dog away from the problem. Or just go thank you and walk away. If the dog carries on barking at this point, stage 3 is basically the dog needs to learn calm down. This is where we give them a timeout. If you've got your dog under control and they're still barking, put them in another room, out of the way, and wait for them to calm down before they rejoin you. If they're in the garden and they're really out of control, shut the door, leave them out there, because there will come a point where the dog calms down and goes, right, now I want to rejoin everybody, and they can't. You leave them out there for a couple of minutes to think about it. What happens then is they start to learn the best form of control, which is self-control, because they see you repeating the same process and you're doing it consistently. So if your three ways of dealing with this are thank, look, and time out, and you keep doing that, you're giving your dog the opportunity to learn the right way to behave. And we don't need to shock them or punish them or throw things at them or squirt them or shout at them. What we're doing is we're being the calm ones that they can trust. Because remember this, a dog is in a world it does not understand. So anything, absolutely anything, could make a dog ask a question. You may have noticed that if you're even in the house watching the TV, and something comes on the TV like an animal or a doorbell rings on the TV and the dogs will go to the door. They don't know it's a TV show. They're just going, oh, is this where we take over and this is where we make the decisions and this is where we defend and this is where we alert? You calm the whole thing down. So it's the same thing. If you're watching TV and your dog barks and they bark at the front door when the doorbell has gone on the TV, don't go, oh, it's just the TV. They don't know that. You go, good dogs, go to the door if you have to. Bring them back. And you can hold your dog and sit down and rest and watch the TV. And if your dog won't stop barking, put them away, wait for them to calm down, and then they can come out when they're quiet. So they learn that being calm is the thing that gets you back with your family. So try that 3-step process. Thank, look, time out, and you'll find that works so much better than all the gizmos and contraptions and gadgets that you may have been persuaded or even coerced into using, which, to be honest, don't work nearly as well, and you may not feel happy about doing. I'm sure you're going to feel a lot happier about doing thank, look, time out. Hope that makes sense. Practice it. Let me know what happens. Even send me some films if you like. And if you'd like to know more about how your dog really thinks and what you can do to show your dog in a way it understands that it can trust you so you can have a happier and calmer dog, then the Think Like a Dog ebook is right here for you. So just click on the link and you can get that today. My name's Tony Knight. Thanks for listening.